Hi guys, I'm going to be looking at a video by The Vegan Jim, a fellow YouTuber who's explaining how to eat to build lean, vegan muscle, supposedly. Let's see what's going on.
This is a typical muscle building meal, and in today's video, I'm going to show you
For a vegan, yes. I'm not sure for most people. I don't see many people eating that much volume, that much fiber in one single sitting. We'll see how this goes.
what your plate should look like section by section if your goal is lean vegan muscle growth.
It's funny, with the diet that I follow, you don't have to look at your meal or your plate by different sections. There's effectively 2 or 3, maybe 4 foods you might have in a single given meal. So it just complicates things already. It seems like a difficult thing to do.
So when it comes to building muscle, there are 3 main things that we want to focus on: calories, protein, and
Calories, no, you shouldn't be focusing on that at all. Protein, yes, definitely. Protein is indicated to build and repair muscle fibers. So yes, good. Let's see what the third one is.
volume. So
Volume. What, training volume or food volume? I don't know. He seems to be missing a lot of principles here, which I'd usually outline in a video. So anyway, we'll carry on. I'm gonna stop rambling.
calories matter because your body will optimally
Calories don't matter in the sense that we can't use them in calculations effectively in a given diet. They can be off plus or minus 20%. They basically permit people to add in processed foods into their diet at risk of losing nutrient density, having the wrong calculation itself, then adding to the thought process, the thought anxiety that someone might have to create all these different pretty meals. You know, food shouldn't be pretty, it's a fuel source. Let's see how this goes.
build muscle in a caloric surplus. So we want to be eating slightly more calories.
I've known people that have gained muscle in a supposed caloric deficit and also in a caloric surplus. I gained probably the best muscle in terms of amount over a given time period when I was eating perhaps maybe 80-90 grams of protein per day. I was effectively going to school, having a bowl of fruit and fiber with some milk. Lunch might be a pasta pot with a bit of cheese in it, and dinner might be a packet of chicken and a packet of rice. You know, not massive amounts of food. There's a hormonal element in play here, and I don't think that the food surplus, at least if that's what he's trying to say, is completely the main underlying factor here.
Calories than we burn every day. Protein matters because it's the main building block of muscle from a nutritional perspective. We want to be sure that we're consuming adequate amounts of amino acids to stimulate muscle protein synthesis.
Correct. Yes. But judging by that sort, I can see where this video is going to go. This might get me a bit spicy.
Volume matters because we want to be sure that our meals are not so big that we can't finish them and get all of our calories in. However, we also want to be sure that we're consuming enough micronutrients, mostly in the form of fruits and vegetables.
No, you don't want to be doing that. There's no potential benefit from having these foods to build muscle in the form of fruit and vegetables. The benefit is in animal foods that supply all the essential nutrients that you need to build muscle.
To be sure that we're getting enough vitamins and minerals every day. So it's really important that we find.
Tell me this: how am I getting all the potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, protein, amino acids? I don't know, all vitamins, minerals, all these things in my diet in the absence of these fruits and vegetables? My meals don't need to be thought out. I don't need to check the volume of meals. You know, there might be 200 to 300 grams per meal. I'm not weighing them on a scale in the sense that I don't need to try and keep them in a certain density range or add extra different colors to them. It's not useful.
A balance between getting enough nutrients, but also not getting too much volume in. All right, so up first we have.
Yes, like I said, you don't need all that volume if you eat proper food, basically.
Have our main protein source, which is tofu. Now, if you've watched some of our other videos.
That's a terrible idea. I hear lots of claims online about, there's hormones in your meat. Okay, all right. We'll look at the estrogenic compounds within them. Then look online, you can find very well illustrated graphs and lists and tables which show that the tofu is laden, rinsed full of estrogenic compounds, thousands of times higher than any hormone that's put into any given cattle, beef, food source, you know? So yeah, not the biggest issue in the country where I'm from, in England. We have legislation which prevents the hormones being added to the food that we're going to eat. So, but you know, just basically for the American viewers, it's not a big issue.
Videos, you know just how much I love tofu. It's super delicious, it's versatile, and it's packed with plant protein.
Tofu is delicious. Okay, eat tofu on its own and tell me it's delicious. No.
The tofu that I made for this meal is marinated in a homemade Thai peanut sauce and air fried. This portion.
Okay, so you got some polyunsaturated fats there in the form of peanut sauce. Not ideal, of course. Probably some fiber in that as well. Not ideal, again. Then you're going to fry it to death and make it rancid as hell. Then tell me it's nutritious and good and great to build muscle. And yeah, no, definitely not.
Portion is just over half a package of extra firm tofu and contains 36 grams of protein and about 300 calories. Usually my main protein source takes up about a quarter to a third.
By the way, guys, I'm not going to go for every point where he says something about calories. It's going to be such a long video already. So anyway, we persist.
Of my plate when I'm focusing on building muscle. I love building my meals around a main protein source because that is the main macronutrient that I'm focusing on when it comes to building muscle and burning body fat. So just how much protein should you be consuming in every meal? Well, according to a 2018 scientific review, you should aim to consume protein at a target intake rate of 0.4 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is 0.18 grams per pound of body weight per meal across a minimum of 4 meals per day. But at the end,
I'm not the biggest fan of these amounts. I think they're useful guidelines sometimes for people. But do remember, you have to be able to accurately measure and assess what your output is, what your training level is, the amount of muscle tissue that you might be able to accrue, and the protein degradation that you get, or the breakdown effectively. If you can pinpoint that, yes, you might sort of find, okay, I'm training very intensely, then you might look at the higher end of the scale. If you're someone that's very sedentary, you might look at the lower end of the scale. Of course, if the scale is so wide, it makes me think, how good is the science that we're looking at here?
At the end of the day, the most important factor for maximizing muscle protein synthesis, or in other words, how much muscle you're actually building, is your total daily protein intake.
Yes.
The general consensus in scientific literature is that you should aim to consume 0.7 to 0.9 grams of high-quality protein per pound of body weight, which is 1.5 to 2.0 grams per kilogram of body weight per day to maximize muscle growth. So
that sounds about right. Yeah, that's pretty much where I land in my diet. Probably close to the 2 grams, but I use high intensity training principles. So my protein breakdown will be much higher than most people that typically bodybuild. One point as well, he mentioned at the start there when he's talking about the grams per pound. He mentioned high quality protein sources. Okay.
right now I'm sitting at about 190 pounds. So for me, that means I should aim to consume about 140 to 170 grams of protein per day. However, unlike animal protein, there's no negative effects to consuming more plant protein. So if you go...
No, false. That's completely false. What would the negative effects of eating animal protein be that isn't present in plant-based protein? So if you're going to say it's as good as animal protein, you say, oh no, but it has all the inbuilt safety mechanisms built in. No, false. Wrong. There's no proof or evidence for that claim.
A little bit beyond those targets, that's perfectly fine. When I'm focusing on building muscle, I generally aim to consume at least 40 grams of plant protein per meal, and I generally consume 3 or 4 meals per day. The best part about focusing on building muscle is that you have a lot more calories to work with than you do when you are focusing on fat loss.
That's kind of feeding into the food addiction, binge eating process. You know, you shouldn't be looking at that in that kind of viewpoint. I think that you have an exact requirement on each individual day of protein, fat, and carbs if people happen to eat them. I think going outside that deliberately is deleterious to health. Saying that, yes, there'll be an element of increasing your protein from times to build more muscle mass, and your diet itself would be dictated upon by the hunger signals that you give it. This is the problem with a plant-based diet. Your hunger signals are fucked.
That gives you the flexibility to incorporate whatever protein sources you want without worrying too much about how many grams of carbs or dietary fat they contain. After adding my main protein source, the next part of my meal that I build is the micronutrient section. If our goal is fat loss like in the previous plate building video, we'd want to go with high volume foods to fill us up for fewer calories. However, for this, we want to do exactly the opposite.
It's almost like this guy has no idea or concept of what nutrient density is. He's just put more junk on his plate, more man-made food which are not compatible with the human system, too high in fiber, perhaps too high in sugar. It's glycating, as you guys know, high in deuterium. What else is there? There might be some potassium in it that's useful. Vitamin C, but again, the vitamin C is just there to counteract the oxidation effects of the sugar itself within the fruits and vegetables. So not ideal. Counterintuitive.
We want to be sure that we're getting in plenty of vitamins and minerals without filling up our plate too much and making us feel full before we can consume all of our calories. Generally speaking, fruits and veggies will make up about a quarter to a half of my plate when I'm focusing on building a muscle building meal.
God forbid he ever saw my plate.
One simple way to reduce food volume is cooking your veggies. So for this meal, I cooked down the spinach and red cabbage, and it greatly reduced the amount of volume for those veggies.
Thank God for that.
Adding micronutrient-rich foods.
Yeah, you have to process these things properly if you're going to eat them, guys. You can't just eat raw spinach and expect to have perfect kidney function, perfect bowel movements. It's not going to happen. It's going to come out near enough as it went into your body. Just accept it's all mashed up and, void of nutrition as well, because you can't absorb anything in it really. Anyway, so yeah, make sure if you're going to eat any of these things, process it properly, cook it properly. There are better methods to do it, but my suggestion is to reduce the complication of the process to not eat them at all.
Like edamame is a great way to add more nutrition to your meals while also adding some more protein. So now that we've added our main protein source and lots of micronutrient-rich foods, we want to add the bulk of our calories for this meal. We can easily add calories with high-fat foods, carbohydrate sources, and sauces. One high-fat food that's actually super nutritious and a great addition to any meal is avocado.
Avocado has some potassium in it, a bit of vitamin E. Anyone that eats avocados really, if they are vegan and they're promoting the fact that it's more sustainable, they're a hypocrite. Those foods are flown thousands of miles in a lot of cases to get across the globe. Now tell me that's more sustainable than eating a cow that was slaughtered down the road in a farm, maybe within 50 miles of where you live. It's not going to work, guys.
So for this meal, we added half an avocado, which has 114 calories in only 68 grams of food. For our main carb source, we filled up about 1/4 of our plate with 138 grams of quinoa. This amount of quinoa contains 165 calories and a respectable 6 grams of plant protein. So avocado and quinoa are a great source of extra calories, but the most calorie-dense part of this meal is actually the sauce. This homemade Thai peanut sauce packs a whopping 265 calories in 8 tablespoons.
That's insane. This gentleman would be better off buying like butter just from the shop, even if it's like organic grass-fed, like super duper expensive stuff, versus peanut sauce that's rancid as hell and gonna give you gastric distress. Not ideal. I find butter as well, it's more versatile. I mean, you can't just chuck peanut sauce and everything. It's insane. It doesn't have that flavor profile which goes with everything, I think butter can near enough go with most foods, especially if you're eating a proper diet, that is, anyway. This guy isn't.
We used half of the sauce to marinate our tofu, and we left the other half to pour over top. This sauce adds a ton of calories and lots of flavor without adding a lot of volume. If you want to add even more nutrition to your meal and not have to rely on supplementation, then you can add things like Dulse flakes, sesame seeds, and nutritional yeast. These are all high in micronutrients, but don't add a ton of volume. As I touched on earlier,
Guys, I'm not too sure about the Dulse Flakes nutritional yeast. I mean, I've had them in the past and they seem to be okay, seem to taste alright, add some flavour, yeah, fair enough. Sesame seeds, not well digested at all. How do you know? Check your stool the next day. Not ideal.
one really great thing about being in a muscle building phase is that you have more room to play around with flavors and high calorie additions that taste amazing. When it comes to the amount of calories that you're consuming in a muscle building phase, I generally recommend that you shoot for a 10% caloric surplus. This will allow
Again, that's another number which I don't necessarily agree with. For someone that is more advanced like myself in terms of bodybuilding, my sports performance, exercise performance career, shooting for 10% surplus in like food intake of however you want to measure it, could really give me some really potent digestive distress. Whereas if I just ate to appetite, as dictated by what my hunger signals tell me, then my body will adapt. I'll eat more food. I think people shooting for these numbers, doing themselves a disservice in some cases, I think. Just because our bodies will tell you. And there's ways that we understand how to do things through the food that we're taking in. We don't have to have so much food or so little food. If we're over fat, we're eating a proper diet, carnivore diet, we'll eat a bit less. If we're very frail, very skinny, our body will tell us and we'll eat a bit more. It's that simple, guys. So try and match your diet to what you're trying to achieve and your body will tell you.
allow you to quickly build muscle, assuming that you're also training properly, without gaining a ton of body fat.
You shouldn't really aim to gain any body fat if you're trying to build muscle. You can build lean muscle, guys. It's not a one or the other kind of situation.
In other words, you want to eat 10% more calories than you burn every day. So
Fuck me. All these like calories, numbers, grams, times. I mean, I passed and maximized my grades on all my maths exams as a kid. This is frustrating as hell. This is overcomplicating it. This is where people have problems because they can't count things in the first place. Then look at all these numbers and all these different pieces of advice online and it gets it completely wrong. So annoying.
if I burn 2,000 calories in a day, I want to aim to consume about 2,200 calories. If you eat too many high-volume foods, it can be difficult to maintain a caloric surplus, and that's why we've added more calorie-rich foods like quinoa, avocado, and Thai peanut sauce to make it easier to hit those calories. So this is a typical muscle-building meal, and this meal can...
So earlier he just said is having between 3 and 4 meals per day with, I believe he said 40 grams of protein per meal. This meal has 70 grams of protein. That makes me question how well is he following his own dietary principles and recommendations? And also, is it that he's having to eat this much because he has no satiety factor as a result of the lack of nutrient density in the food itself? Unpack that, guys. Let me leave that one to you.
contains 1,025 calories with 70 grams of plant protein. So even though you have more calories to work with in a muscle building phase, you can still make mistakes when it comes to building your meals. To demonstrate this, let's change up some of the food items that we've put on our plate. So on the flip side, it's possible to add too many calorie-dense foods like...
You know what I've done there, guys? If I was producing this food, I'd just chuck the food on the plate away and just chucked a big fat-ass fucking ribeye steak on it. That's what I've done. Put like a block of butter on it. That'd have really fucked them up.
sauces that bring tons and tons of calories into your meals without adding a lot of volume, which could actually leave you feeling hungry even when you are focusing on building muscle in a caloric surplus. Taking this approach could actually make you eat too many calories and pack on pounds of body fat while also not being able to hit your micronutrient needs every day. To demonstrate this muscle building mistake, we took away all of the veggies, all of the edamame, we added back a quarter of an avocado, added back about half the quinoa, and doubled the amount of sauce. So if you struggle to gain weight...
Lots and lots of sauce, guys. Lots of flavorings. Complicated plans. It just came to my attention, actually, this guy's got vegan superhero written on his shirt. I'm thinking how would you guys feel if this guy actually went up to you and approached you and say, I'm a superhero? Fucking narcissistic as hell.
Because you have trouble eating enough calories, then taking this kind of nutritional approach could actually be a beneficial thing for you. Just keep in mind that we have taken away lots of the micronutrients, so you want to consider supplementing with something.
God, this annoys me as well, and I know it annoys Professor K as well. It's like, just put your arms down and explain things with your voice. It's not difficult. It's really distracting. It's annoying. It's really annoying. Also, one reason why people that are like personal trainers online, they stand like that all the time, or they've always got like a bend in their elbow. It's because when they put their arms down, they're skinny as hell. They've got no muscle. I have more muscle than this guy when I was 14 years old. So definitely not someone to be taking advice from. If you're wondering why I'm getting a bit annoyed about this, it's because this guy is putting out misinformation which is harmful to people. He's vain as hell, and he's annoying.
Thing like a multivitamin. So the most common muscle building meal mistake that I see people make is adding too many low-calorie foods like fruits and veggies to their meals, which add tons of volume and makes it impossible to actually consume all of the calories. So for this example, we took away all of the quinoa and avocado, and we added 175 grams of spinach, 335 grams of...
Looks like he's just gone to like the grocery section, the greengrocers. And then he's thought, I'm just going to pick everything up and I chuck it on a plate. It's like it's even worse. It's like he's gone to the local hydroponics farm and just picked up all the vegetables and plant matter that they could find. This looks horrendous. Yeah, imagine like he said earlier, this is, say 1,000 calories, or whatever he says it is meant to be. Imagine he's having 3 of these meals per day. That's a lot of food, guys. That's like, that's how much food to be eating in a given day, perhaps. That is ridiculous. My plate, for example, is about 1/5 the size of that. And I'm a much bigger guy than this gentleman. So, yeah, not ideal. I know he's given an example of what too much volume is, but this is insane.
Of red cabbage, 190 grams of carrots, and 48 grams of edamame. So just to be really clear, this plate has the same amount of calories as the plate that we just went over.
And one of them is probably more likely to kill you as well.
It's great to eat tons of veggies because they're packed with vitamins and minerals, but
again, with the vitamins and minerals, what vitamins and minerals are in them in such great abundance? He said it several times throughout this video, but he's not once mentioned or explained which ones are specifically so high in these foods. You can't just make blanket statements without some area of like explanation. What is in these so-called nutrition foods?
Consuming all of this food is going to be virtually impossible. So again, this is my typical muscle building meal, and we also covered 2 different versions of nutrition mistakes that people make when they're trying to build muscle.
Yes, one is using calories as a metric to identify how much food you're eating. The second one is eating plant-based foods, as we've seen. 2 big mistakes there.
It actually holds them back from accomplishing their goals. So to summarize, building muscle comes down to 3 main nutritional considerations. 1, we want to maintain a slight caloric surplus. 2, we want to consume adequate amounts of plant protein. And 3, we want to be sure that we don't have too much volume and kind of have an optimal amount of food.
It's like all 3 of those key points are perfectly met by the species-specific, species-appropriate diet. That is the carnivore diet, which includes animal protein and animal fat.
So we hit our goals without feeling too full. I do want to note that your nutrition needs are different from mine, so your meals might look a little bit different.
Perhaps in terms of the volume of what we're eating and perhaps the ratio, the percentage, the grammages, yes, of course. But the fact remains we are 99.9% identical, I believe, something like that. So our biologies are not that different. Your diet should not look considerably different to mine. But anyway, you're going to carry on putting out misinformation online. You're going to be met with a response.
Based on your body composition and your goals. If you want to learn everything that you need to know to build lean muscle as a vegan, you can download my ultimate plant-based nutrition guide for building lean vegan muscle that's linked in the description below. In this guide, you'll learn how your body actually builds muscle, how much protein and what types of proteins you should be consuming to build muscle, the top 10 foods that you should be eating to boost muscle growth, and much more.
I don't know if my diet has more than 10 foods in it on like a given week that I'm eating a lot of variety. It does sound like he's really complicating it with this fad diet plan. I can't for the life of me get behind it.
So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, that last bit where really annoyed me. Yeah, I'm quite frustrated with this one. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave the like below, hit subscribe, and also leave a pleasant comment. I'd much appreciate that, and hopefully if there is enough traction with these videos, I'll continue to make them for your pleasure and mine. So thank you.